To access Westlaw, go to the library homepage at library.umass.edu and search for it under Databases. You may be asked for your NetID and password if you are not using a proxy or VPN. Westlaw is a database of primary and secondary legal materials. Primary materials include legislation, bills, court cases, regulations, and agency decisions at the federal and state level. Secondary sources include encyclopedias, journal articles, and monographs. When doing legal research into an area that you are not familiar with, the best approach would be to look it up in a legal encyclopedia. That way you can get a summary of the law and links to important court cases and statutes. The first place I would suggest to look is American Jurisprudence II. You can access it by clicking Secondary Sources and then the title. There you will find a list of the entries by subject. You can browse the subjects or use the search box. Keep in mind that some of the terminology used in the titles might be a bit outdated or not what you would normally use, such as aliens and citizens instead of immigration. As you can see here, there is not an entry for environmental law per se. If we search for environment in the search box, then we can see that environmental issues are mentioned under various other areas of law, such as buildings, energy, jury trials, etc., but we do see that there is an entry for pollution. So if we go back to the table of contents and find the entry for pollution, or in this case, pollution control, and click on it, we can see that it's split up into parts and sections. The first part is governmental regulation and control, which is generally about the policy and the legislation. The second part has to do with private actions, that is, cases against private parties or government agencies related to environmental issues. Each of these sections is then split up into subsections. For example, if you look at air pollution, then state authority to regulate air pollutants, it gives you a few paragraphs about the current state of the law. So the first paragraph states that Congress has preempted the fields as regards emissions of air pollutants from moving sources such as aircraft and motor vehicles. This basically means that the federal rather than state government has the power to regulate emissions from things that move as opposed to things like factories. And the footnote gives us a source for this, which is the Supreme Court case Washington versus General Motors Corporation from 1972. And the entry also cross-references other entries in the encyclopedia. The entry also links to another resource in Westlaw called the Key Number Digest. This is basically a way of classifying court decisions so that you can find all the cases that address that area of law. Here it is pointing to environmental law, so let's have a look at that. You will also notice there are subcategories as well, which correspond to specific aspects of environmental law. Unlike American Jurisprudence II, which only includes citations to select cases, the key number system aims to classify all the cases in the database with one or more areas of law, although some older cases may not be classified. Obviously, there are many cases that have to do with environmental law, more than 10,000 in this case. You can narrow down the results by court level. For example, let's say you only want to see Supreme Court cases that have to do with environmental law. And then maybe you're interested in only certain aspects of environmental law. You can get more specific by choosing a subcategory within the key number system. For example, air pollution. Now you have a list of cases from the Supreme Court that address air pollution. You can also get to the key number system in the Tools tab, where again you will see a list of subjects. Note that the headings don't correspond exactly to those in American Jurisprudence II. These seem to be a bit more current in terminology. For example, immigration is now included with aliens and citizenship.